guys so much for tuning in for our webinar. I'm super excited to be here with everybody today. We're gonna have a great time because I'm gonna show you guys how to sublimate on different hard substrates. If you guys saw the promo, then you saw that we're gonna be doing license, or in ascending order of thickness, we're doing license plates, which are very thin. Then we're doing some hardboard coasters, which are a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to show you guys how to sublimate onto an awards plaque, which is one of the more thick items that we carry. And even if you don't have a swing away heat press, you can still get it taken care of. And I'm going to show you how in today's webinar. I'm ready to roll. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my main cam because this is where all the fun's going to be. I'm going to turn a light on real quick. You're going to see how this really awesome sublimation is going to work. So to start off, we're going to start with our thinnest item. Now, it might look a little yellow to you, but don't worry. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to peel this off. This is a protective like film that you're going to see on a lot of substrates. And that's because we don't want it to get scratched in transit. Also, I love it because it doesn't let any lint get on my surface. See how I have a really nice and clean pressing surface? Got rid of that. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do, what's cool about license plates, and again, we're going in ascending order of thickness. So I got my license plate here. Very, very thin. This is an aluminum license plate. It's for, well, depending on what state you're in, it's for decoration only. And then next we're gonna show, this is a little thicker. So if you guys wanna kind of see the size comparison, you know, and it might not look like a ton, but this is actually about 2 or 3 times as thick as the license plate. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is, well, we peeled it, but one thing I recommend doing, I'm gonna adjust pressure on the fly because I'm kind of pro at it and I do it well. But one thing you're gonna wanna do is, it's very likely, and especially when we get to the really thick things, like this, for example, this awards plaque is actually very thick. You're gonna wanna adjust your pressure before you start heat pressing. Again, I'm a professional, I've done this many times, and so I can kind of gauge just by feel where it's at. This is really loose because I already tested those plaques, so I have it very loose. So what I'm gonna do is, oh look, NASA, you see that on my t-shirt? By the way, if you've ever heard me brag about Jet Pro Soft Stretch, it's this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now. There we go. So you see how it was just like a very, I'm actually gonna back off just a little bit. So for your very, very thin substrates, you're going to wanna use medium pressure. Actually, I'm at about t-shirt pressure right now. That's a little easy. You don't need heavy pressure when sublimating. That's what's cool. You don't need heavy pressure when sublimating. So what I've done is I've printed my print. Got a cool patriotic print here. Go America, right? And what I've done is I've printed it. Now I oversized this. You usually don't want to have this much. We call this bleed, this extra area. And if you want to know how to set up a template in Photoshop, we have those tutorials on our YouTube channel. So I've obviously set mine up too big. No worries. Because this photo, I just printed the original photo. Oh, and what's cool about license plates, this is 12 inches long, but if you have an SG400, you could still print 8.5 by 14. So this 8.5 by 14 inch sublimation paper, very cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and center my graphic within the bleed. The bleed is good. I overprinted on purpose because I wanna print completely edge to edge on my print. For example, if I moved it over here, I'd get a white line across because I didn't cover it edge to edge. So it's very important to get edge to edge coverage on all of your sublimation prints. You don't need a lot of heat tape, but a little will do. I'm only gonna tape it on 2 sides, a little right there, and then a little up here, and I'll bring it over so you guys can see it a little bit better. So what the heat tape does, by the way, don't use regular Scotch tape. This is special heat tape. It's heat resistant, so it's not gonna melt. And what it does is it holds my transfer to we call this a substrate or a sublimation blank. It's gonna hold this in place and it's gonna keep it from shifting. Now, one thing that you always wanna be careful with is shifting on your transfer, if you've ever wondered why you're getting blurring, we call it ghosting on it, is because let's say and you'll see this probably a little bit better once we pull it out of the heat press. But you'll see that like after when it's still hot, when the transfer is still hot, if it shifts on the surface, because there's still a little bit of ink on there, it might re-imprint in the new location. And that's really bad. That's gonna cause your blurring. And that's what we ultimately do not wanna see. So give me just one more second. I'm gonna grab my parchment paper. Here is something that is non-negotiable, guys. We get this question a lot. When sublimating, you absolutely must use parchment paper, because if you use, I'm tempted to ruin a sheet well, we can't really say Teflon. So when it comes to using thin metal substrates, you could press them face down or face up. I actually prefer to press them face down, and I'll tell you why. Because this heats up more evenly, and I just feel like it distributes the heat better. That could be just bro science. I might be even making that up, but I just like pressing these face down. And so what I'm gonna do to protect my heat press from any, we call it outgassing, and what that is so you see how there's a little bit of exposed ink? Well, I don't want this ink to end up on my heating element. So I'm gonna protect it. I'm gonna slide it back in. There we go. I got 60 seconds on the clock, which is actually a little bit long for this, but just to kind of prove my point, how 385, 60 is like the magic combo, I'm actually gonna let it ride, 385, 60 seconds. If I'm not mistaken, the correct settings are between 385 and 400 for about 45 seconds on this particular item. But again, I'm totally into proving points, and I am not above doing something wrong, just to kind of show you guys how well it'll work. But if you want the ideal settings, you can go to heatpressnation.com. Every sublimation blank that we sell, so whether you're pressing, as I'm going to show you right now, whether you're pressing one of these puppies, which we're going to get to in a minute, super thick, right? There's going to be instructions on the website. You want to follow those instructions for your best results. This is a tutorial, so not only am I showing you how to prep these items, but I'm also giving you guys a couple of extra tips. One of them is the magic combo, 385 degrees for 60 seconds. You can see the press is counting down. Temperature dropped just a little bit when I lower the heat press. That's totally normal. This is a smaller press, so it does take a little bit longer to get up to temperature. Back up, I should say, but no worries. Counts down to 0. Carefully open this up. Gonna slide this back out. Oh, there we go. We're back out. And at first look, I might have needed a little bit more pressure on here, but don't worry. It's gonna come out great, I'll tell you. So one thing you wanna do is, again, we don't want it to shift. We wanna let it cool for a quick second, just because like the ink on the transfer sheet is still hot, right? And again, if the transfer shifts on the surface, it could re-imprint in a new area, causing a blur. One thing I like to do though, but again, that's why we heat taped it, so it's not gonna shift. One thing I like to do for these, and you'll see me do it a lot, is I'll just tear it down the center and expose our beautiful print. And oh, by the way, wear gloves if necessary. These are gonna be hot as heck. Very hot. I would touch it, but I'm not dumb. Well, I'm not that dumb, I should say. There we go. Our patriotic print actually looks great. Probably could have gone for a little more pressure, but don't worry. That's what I love about these aluminum. These aluminum substrates are incredibly forgiving. Oh, so great, so great. I love the ornaments, and I love this. This came out gorgeous, and again, it's very hot. So you see, like, I'm like trying to like scoop it up with the paper. It is hot. Darn it. That's hot. That's very hot. Sorry, I just tossed it aside. What do they say on Tarzan? Like a newborn giraffe. Oh yeah, he dropped this like a newborn giraffe. And so now we're gonna go up in thickness. Now here's what you want to do. Okay, so you saw that I just heat pressed the thin one. It's this heat press now has too much pressure, and I don't want to actually press this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it in a piece of parchment paper to protect it. Right. I'm gonna put it in right at the center. I'm gonna go back here, and you'll see that this is just too much pressure. Like it's if I press it, it might be too hard to open. Okay, that's a very firm pressure. You don't need that much pressure when sublimating. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is, and again, you should adjust your pressure before you even turn the press on. But since I'm going through a couple different substrates, I gotta do it on the fly. So I'm gonna, that actually feels pretty good. That's a decent, it's a medium pressure. So you saw just a couple turns is all it takes to get it right. But because we're pressing a thicker item, and now this is hot, so I'm gonna let it cool down. But because we're pressing a thicker item, we did have to adjust our pressures. Now, if you had a signature series heat press with the sure pressure system, once you find, turn the press off. You can do this while the press is cold. Find the pressure for each of these, right? Note the sure pressure number, and then when you're switching back and forth between, you just adjust the dial until it gets to the right number. That's what I love about the sure pressure. I don't know where it's officially called a bookmark system, but it's basically a bookmark system for your heat press. So that way you're not relying on your muscle memory too much. You're really, like me, that's how I know what to do. You're just doing great stuff all the time. All right, so here I have my Sublimation coaster. It has the cork board backing. This is probably my favorite one, just because I do like the cork backing. It doesn't like slip too much. It just, I don't know. I like the cork backing. Again, this is a personal favorite. Please do whatever you want. Now here's where it gets tricky, all right, guys? This one also has a film. In fact, I think all three of our substrates today have a protective film. So there we go. Can you see it? Actually very satisfying to peel these. If my job was solely to just peel the coverings, the shield off the blanks, like I'd be a happy guy. All right, so we're gonna go back down here. All right, so here we go. This blank measures 3 3/4 square. So I printed out something 4 inches square. Okay. So as you can see, there's a little bit of bleed, right? The print extends beyond, right? You see how it extends beyond the coverage of the blank itself? And that's because we want full edge to edge coverage on the blank. I don't want any white borders or anything like that. I want it to be full color all the way around. And you'll see how this goes in a minute. Another thing I love about these particular blanks, they're so darn easy and they present extremely well. People love these dumb things, like not dumb, sorry. My Californian coming out. People love these things. Like you make, and then they're not even that expensive, but like you make a set for people for like Mother's Day, Christmas, whatever. Or even if you just want to keep your house decorated for each season, you can have coasters to match the season. You have your holiday set of coasters, and then your fall and your winter, spring, whatever, Easter, I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So here we go. Oh, and here's another thing that's cool about these smaller substrates. Instead of getting like 2 pieces of parchment paper, you can just get one. As long as it's clean, fold it in half. And this one I am gonna go face up just because maybe I should have learned my lesson on the other one. All right, so we're gonna fold this over. I do try to place my thicker substrates closer to the center. I try to place it right here in the center. I'm gonna slide it back in, and we're gonna go for the same setting, 385 for 60 seconds. And you can see my press is now back up to 385. That kind of happens with all heat presses. You're going to see a slight temperature drop because, yeah, you have a cold, in this case, I had a cold piece of aluminum, you know, touching the heating element. So it cooled it down for a little bit. And I mentioned this is a smaller press. This is our Craft Pro, very capable, very amazing heat press. It did take a couple seconds to get back up to temperature, which is totally fine. If you have like your big, you know, $2,000 heat press, it probably won't see much of a dip at all. And if it does dip, it'll come back up to temperature really fast. But yeah, this thing is like, I think it's like 380, 370 versus $2,000. So, you know, you get what you pay for. But all in all, I always use this press because in my opinion, this is probably the best bang for your buck heat press on the market. I'm not exaggerating. Like, dude, I absolutely love the Craft Pro 1515. I personally own the Signature Series 16 by 20. But if this ever comes in a 1620, you better believe I'm getting the Craft Pro. All right, that's 60 seconds. We're going to pull this out carefully. And I don't know if you might have seen how it kind of stuck there. That's why I say carefully. I should have done a little slower. So we're going to do that. And that's also a really good reason as to why we tape the transfer to our substrate, because even though it might have gotten a little jostled right there, it's still in place. Like nothing shifted on there because we heat taped it in place. So I'm going to give that a second to cool. Some people peel immediately. That's fine. Some people wait too long. I'm giving you guys, like, again, I've heat pressed billions, not billions, that's a lie, a lot of these things. And I'm just kind of giving you guys my best results. So what I am going to do is I'm going to flip it over, or actually, no, I'm not going to flip it over, tear it right up the middle. And I think I can just hold it. Even the paper is hot as heck. Let's see if the camera is going to catch that. You see that? You see how cool that is? Look at that. This one came out beautiful. That's 385, 60 seconds. Now, I'm looking at it, and here's how you know if you press for too long. So if there was any black on this, and there's like some shadows under the eagle, if there was any black on this, the blacks would have turned brown. Now the eagle's brown, so this is probably not the best way to judge that. But if you notice your blacks turn brown, or green even, and then your blues, just like the colors are going to be off. That's how you know you burnt it. When you burn your inks, they just look, geez, that is hot. When you burn your inks, maybe I could just zoom in, huh? Let's see. So check it out. Yeah, if the blacks and dark areas right here, if that would have turned like a really ugly brown, it actually looks kind of dingy, like a dingy brown green. That's how I would have known that I overcooked it. So, but again, 385/60, darn, that looks pretty darn good. Now, if it would have come out really faint and ugly, then I feel like, yeah, you know, maybe I needed to add more time, or if it would have been brown and ugly, or like, you know, like just dingy greens and blues where they shouldn't be, that's how you know you overcooked it. So overcooked, the color's gonna look burnt. Undercooked, they're gonna look kind of faint and cheap. And that's it. And it's that easy. And then also, like, if you want, I could fit, like, without exaggeration, I could probably fit like maybe not a dozen, or maybe a dozen actually. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. It cooled down a little bit. 1, 2. Yeah, you could probably fit like 9. I don't know why I said a dozen. You could fit like 9 of these on your press at once. You know, if you want to just get them all done in one shot. I'll usually do like 4 at a time just for quality control. But yeah, and that's how you do something that's slightly hot. Jeez Louise, that is hot. I'm done. Why do I keep touching it? All right, there we go. Right there. The bottom's not as hot. So that is, and I'm going to grab my ruler for the end of this so we can actually measure how thick. But if I had to guess, I'd say it's about 1/16 to 1/4 of an inch. Okay, last thing we're going to do. Turn over right here. We have our awards plaque. And this is thick. This is probably like, I don't know, like 1/2 inch, 5/8 inch. This is okay. So like in comparison to what we just did, oops, don't worry. Like this is much, much thicker than this. It's so thick, in fact, that I'll need a new piece of parchment paper. But it's so thick, in fact, that it's not really going to fit on our heat press. And so this is a hack for you guys. I'm going to fold this over because I'm cool like that. And because I don't want to damage my plaque before I get to use it, right? There's no way. Oh, let me zoom out really quick here. That's not happening. All right. And I'm going to loosen the pressure all the way, again, to prove a point, but to show you guys a cool hack for pressing really thick items on your clamshell. Now, ideally, I'd have a swing away for heat pressing something as thick as this plaque. But if you guys want to know, and you see here, I'm loosening the heck out of this, right? It may or may not fit. I don't think it's going to fit. Oh, there we go. It does fit. Yes. So the Craft Pro will handle it in case you have something thicker, or I know that if you have a sure pressure, if you have a signature series with sure pressure, what you can do when you have a thick item like this is you could just take out the lower platen. Now this is ugly, yeah, Doug, because nobody touches it. People get upset when it's like not like super like polished, but it's like, dude, it's not what it's for. And then make sure you protect it with some parchment paper, or the pro grade might work on bottom. Protect it so that way it doesn't get scuffed. I put a t-shirt on my lower plate, but this is like a little over a quarter inch. It might be closer to a half inch. I think it's about a quarter or 3/8 of an inch thick. That's going to give you some extra clearance. So if you're pressing, maybe it's not even a plaque, but if you're pressing something super thick and you need it to fit in your clamshell, just take off the rubber pad. And that's going to give you some extra clearance. Now, in this case, we don't need that, which is pretty cool. I'm actually really stoked that our Craft Pro is able to handle this. And so I'm going to adjust pressure, and I'm putting it face down because I don't want to. This is the good part, right? So I don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to put it face down in the center, and I'm probably going to put it this way just because I feel like that'll be better. And now I'm going to adjust my pressure. Now I'm putting it down. It's like not even touching it. So I'm gonna. You guys get a great view of my dumb elbow there, my ashy elbow. There we go. So I went up a little bit, and it's not even close to closing. So now we're just going to go back in small increments until we get to a pressure that we like. Again, not too heavy, but not too light. And actually, that feels perfect. So let's pull this out. I'm going to let this cool down for a second because, well, you guys didn't even see what I did there. I'm going to let this cool down for a second, and then I'm going to show you how we sublimate an awards plaque. I'm going to pull up my ruler, and we will see how everything came out. Okay, so of course, and this is just a process video. Really, the hardest part of pressing these, I already showed you guys, which is adjusting the pressure for this. And you guys saw that cool trick. If your heat press has a little bit less clearance than the one I'm using today, don't worry. Just pull out the lower rubber, this, and you should be fine. So I'm going to carefully, you don't want to scratch the white surface underneath, because then that'll make your print, it'll show up on the print. So I'm just kind of like carefully starting my peel, and then after that, oh, this is the fun part. Yes, all day. It is all day. There we go. Also, if you touch it, you kind of get your skin oils on there. Okay, now this one's a little bit harder, and I'll tell you why. The imprint area is right here, but you have this kind of like lip, all right, over it. And so I did print this with a little bit of bleed, so this print is bigger than this, but here's what's kind of tough. When you're looking overhead, you can't really see it. So what I'm gonna do is I have to like get down here and like look really close. You guys are probably seeing the top of my weird head, my oversized cabeza. There we go. So you guys are gonna have to trust me on this one. Now, here comes the other hard part, is taping it in place. What I have done in the past, which does not always work, is I'll get it and I'll just like fold it over and do this almost like a Christmas present, right? Get some tight folds, make sure it doesn't shift. Now this usually works. One thing I have noticed is with this is now I'm getting a little bit of, if you don't do it right, you get a little bit of a bow, like right there, right? So another thing I'll do is I'll flip it over and I'll just run my finger over the edges and kind of force a crease. What I'm doing is I'm creating a crease now. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. And so what I've done is I've put a crease in it, and all that's really going to do is it's just going to kind of help it stay in position. And if I look, like, hold it up to the light, I can see that my graphic is centered over the imprint area. These ones, now I know they're a little expensive, but you definitely want to practice a few times. Have a couple extra. If it's your first order for an awards plaque, use it as a learning opportunity. Have a few extra and test it out. Okay, test it out, because you know, lining this up is not always easy. And again, so you can kind of see there. I hope you can see that on the camera. I don't know if you could see in, but like I could see a little bit of the thing. The bleed helped me line everything up. This one, I will admit, takes a little practice. So again, practice makes perfect. Let's slide this out. I have a clean sheet of sublimation paper here. I've already adjusted my pressure, so I know that's going to be good. And it doesn't really matter which way you go, but if I feel like and again, this could be just bro science. This might not even be real life facts, but I just like it going wide. So that might not have anything to do with it at all. 385, 60 seconds. Let's actually slide it in and let's get our camera in view. Again, this is not a cooking show, guys. I don't have one of these already done. You guys are seeing everything live and in real time. 60 seconds on the clock. I had a nice, easy kind of medium pressure here. And there we go. That's time. I'm going to open that up. Slide this puppy out. Here's the big reveal. I'm going to let it sit for a second. And this is how I do it. I just like tear it open from the center. Oh, that actually came out. Dude, this looks better than I expected. Not sure why I had such low expectations, but dude, this looks cool. Okay, I'm gonna take these off. And okay, this is gonna be hot. And yes, I did drop this one. That's why it's a little dinged. Okay, there we go. That's hot. The colors actually look better in person than on camera. And this is cool. And these awards plaques are great. They're very affordable. So that way, like if you're, especially if you're part of a club or you want to recognize kids in your school or whatever, they're honestly, these are even really fun gifts, like to give for like Father's Day, like give your dad, the dad in your life, like a Father of the Year, you know, plaque or whatever. You can make it really funny. I mean, this area is 100% customizable. You can put whatever the heck you want right here. So yeah, like these are really, really cool. And I think they're a little intimidating because they're just so thick. And when you first put it into the heat press, it's like, oh, dude, that sucks. It didn't fit. But with just a little bit of care, a little bit of practice, you can be a pro at this. So really quick here, I'm going to leave that on your screen while I grab my ruler, because we're going to measure the thickness of all of these so you guys can know exactly what you can expect. So give me 1 second. So really quick, I'm just going to show you guys the different thicknesses that we covered today. We had our really cool license plate, and it's the same graphic on all of them. And this license plate measures oh, geez. Okay, hold on. This is going to work my eyes. This license plate measures exactly, hold on. Okay, that's a quarter, eighth, 16th, 1/32 of an inch. Very, very thin. If you're curious what that is in millimeters, it's about 1 millimeter. It's a little less than a millimeter. Okay, very, very thin. Set your heat press to t-shirt level thickness, and you should be gravy. With these, next in thickness we have our coaster, and this one's a little bit more hefty. This one's coming in at just a little bit over a 16th of an inch. So it's pretty thick. And if you're curious in millimeters, because you're weird and on the metric system, right? We're coming in at about 4 millimeters. Different thickness. Now this is, again, it's best to adjust your heat press before you even turn it on when it's not hot, because then you could just go as much as you want, measure it and stuff. Oh, one other thing, if you're going to press multiples of these, the pressure is gonna be set different than if you're just pressing one. Something I learned the hard way. And ooh, this one's still a little warm, but don't worry, I'm tough. This one is coming in at about, I think I said it was 5/8, and yep, I was right. 5/8 of an inch thick. This is pretty darn thick in the world. Because think about it, like there's no t-shirt that's 5/8. Like even your thickest sweaters and jackets, they're not coming in at 5/8 of an inch thick, rigid, which is different than soft. And then if we're measuring in millimeters here, for all of you weirdos, we're at right about 15 millimeters or 1.5 centimeters. But that's it for our tutorials. I hope you guys learned how easy it is to actually press thick hard substrate. So if you have your sublimation printer, maybe you're already doing t-shirts or mugs, but if you have a heat press, guys, this stuff, especially as the holidays are coming up, here's why. Anyone can go to the store and buy like a custom license plate with something cute on it for like anywhere from 12 to 20 bucks. A custom one that's made just for them, a one of a kind, guys, come on, that's worth at least $20 to $30. These coaster sets, and these are just some examples. If you guys want a full list of examples, do me a favor, head over to heatpressnation.com. We have lots and lots of sublimation blanks there for you. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. It's been a pleasure. I hope you have a great week. We will see you guys next Friday for our next webinar. Be sure to tune in, and until then, I hope you guys have a great week. It's my Friday today, so I'm gonna have a blast. All right, everybody, we'll see you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Adios.